Hey, I'm Tommy Coletti at the Music Zoo, and I'd like to introduce to you the brand new Fender American Vintage Series Stratocaster. So Fender went back basically in time and did some detective work and looked at several dozen different Stratocasters and Telecasters in the specific model years: 56 Strats, 57 Strats, 64 Tellies. And instead of looking at one guitar and basing their findings off one specific guitar, they actually looked at several and they compared several together and really got as honed in on what all of the details were of each guitar and each model year that they possibly could. And they discovered a bunch of things along the way. They had sent the plastic parts to a lab for the volume knobs and the switches and everything and the pickguard, and they actually found what they thought was Bakelite was actually this new cutting edge plastic called ABS, which is a very common thing today, but back in the 50s it was this new thing. As well as looking at the font on the dials, and now have specific sizes exactly. They found that the size of the font that they were using is actually larger recently comparatively to back then. So now that's just aesthetic stuff. So Fender's new flash coating, basically again, what is new is now old, or what is old is now new again. Fender went back and they looked at exactly how they were finishing these guitars, and it turned out that there was a light sanding sealer, a light wash coat, and then a couple of coats of lacquer. And they also found that instead of buffing, high-speed buffing the lacquer, which plasticides the paint and sort of hermetically seals the guitar, they found they just do a quick buffing, doesn't plasticize the paint, keeps the guitar way more resonant. So all of these little discoveries about how things were done in the past and they're doing them again really makes a difference. The guitars are very resonant now. I know that in the Music Zoo, guitar players will come into the store and very often pick up a guitar off the rack and just play it without, an electric guitar, play it without plugging it in. And sometimes one of the things to tell a great guitar is how resonant it is before you even plug it into the amplifier. If it's got a lot of tone and it's all there, you know that you're on your way, and then everything else is just going to be an additional great factor, like the pickups. So Fender went back and they looked at the pickups. They discovered that they were using Alnico 3s and 5s depending on the model year. Gray bottoms on the pickups for a lot of them, enamel coated wire, all this stuff recreated, redone exactly how they were doing it. The case. So Fender actually went back and looked at the guitar cases again and found that they discovered that the actual depth of the guitar cases was a little narrower than what they were using. So they went back and they retooled the guitar case. Everything that comes in the guitar case, all of the case candy, the jack is now exactly original from what they were supplying with the guitars in the 50s and 60s. The one sheet on a lot of them, basically a one sheet is just like, here's your new Fender guitar, and this is how to, how to play it, and this is an E string, and they show somebody kind of playing the guitar. It's kind of cool and part of the history. They've included all of this stuff with the guitar, along with a very important ingredient, which is a three-way switch, which makes it vintage correct. So on this guitar, they found that they actually installed the five-way on the Stratocaster, the five-way switch on the guitar, because they found a lot of guitar players, even though they like the vintage three-way switch, it's actually way more functional with a five-way switch. So they install it with the five-way and then give you the three-way and a diagram about how to actually change it. In the past, you had to go out and find a three-way switch and change it, and it became like a whole thing, and you don't have to do that anymore. They thought that out as well. All part of the case candy. The other thing that they looked at is some of the tooling that they used to build these guitars is actually the original machines that they used, the lathes and the saws that were used in the 50s and 60s. But they had to go back and retool some of this stuff. If anybody that knows machine shops or anything like that, when you use a machine over and over and over again, what happens is it almost certain die cuts need to be redone or recalibrated. Things move and adjust, and if you're sawing the same thing over and over again, the tool's dull. And so all this stuff had to be sort of like brought back to life and made exacting from the way they were, just like those guitars that they discovered back in the 50s and the 60s. And this huge effort was made in this rediscovery of of that era. A great thing by Fender for vintage enthusiasts, guys like myself who love this. I'm so happy and so proud that Fender was able to go back and do this, and not maybe take one guitar, but take several dozen guitars and look at it and really get into the minutia that made these guitars live and breathe and legacies. It's a huge step forward for Fender, and we're happy to carry them here at the Music Zoo.